I'll start by reading a bit from the forward. Martina Hingis, Sania's former partner, wrote in Ace Against Odds. It sums up who Sania is as a competitor. Hingis says, Sania and I score over our opponents with our temperament, as we both love to embrace pressure situations. On many occasions, it comes down to 1 or 2, 3 crucial points in a match where you need nerves of steel. The 2015 Wimbledon final was a perfect example of what we can achieve under pressure. At one stage, we looked down and out. Of course, Sania and Martina came back from 2-5 down in the third set, in the deciding third set of that Wimbledon final, to go on and clinch it. So that is essentially who Sania is as a competitor. She had nerves of steel. Sania, if I were to pick one feature that would weigh more than your talent, greater than that forehand that you struck audaciously, it is probably your attitude. I remember at Wimbledon, you were just 19 years of age. You had lost in the second round of a match in which you had been ticked off by the chair umpire, but you arrived for that press conference wearing a T-shirt that said, "Well-behaved women rarely make history." I just wanted to ask you about that resolute fiber. What makes Sania Mirza?
So I think that first of all, hi everyone who's there. Secondly, funnily enough, that T-shirt became such a thing that almost kind of defined who I was. But it was so godsend because I literally picked out a T-shirt from my bag and I was like, this is what I'll just wear. And I walked to the press conference because I was so out of it. I think I lost 6-4 in the third to Kuznetsova. And I had just beaten her a few months before that. So I was very, very upset with myself. And there was absolutely zero thought process in that T-shirt. It just so happened that I think God has his ways planned, and that's how it worked out and kind of started defining who I was. I think that for me, I have always tried to stay true to my gut. I mean, that is the most important thing for me. And more important than winning matches, more important than anything in the world is to try and stay true to myself. I try and be as raw as possible in front of the world, in front of the media, in front of the people. Because at the end of the day, I feel that we're human. And I think that just because we are public figures does not mean that we don't have ups and downs and we don't make mistakes or we don't feel sad or happy. And those are the emotions and everything that I sort of that's what I base my life around, is to try and be true to myself. So for me, that fire, that fight comes from within. It's just, I guess I was born with it. Maybe I was lucky enough to be born with it. And I feel that it doesn't take an effort for me to be this way. It's just who I am. And I would be like this even if the camera is not on. You've seen me when the camera is not on. So I'm exactly the same when the camera is on and when the camera is off.
Sania, you've spoken about the joy you have, the joy and the pride you have in representing your country. I just want to bring to the notice of everyone here the two sides of that. While you've said how you save T-shirts, every T-shirt that you wore while representing India is with you locked somewhere in your home. And on the other side of that, and the first of your 14 medals that you won for India, a record, by the way, was as a 15-year-old in the Busan Asian Games. The other side of that story is of a girl who got taken to court for being photographed during the 2008 Hopman Cup because of it was at the angle of the photograph which made it appear like you'd put your foot on the tricolor or above the tricolor. And I know that it caused you great grief. How do you see this, the pride and prejudice of the situation?
So I think that when it happened, I was about 19 or 20 years old. And at that moment, it was a lot more, or that age, it was a lot more difficult to accept what was happening. I think I'm 35. I can tell you that I can understand that we come from a country of a lot of emotional people who take a lot of and they're very emotional about their stars, even when they love them or even when they hate them. So I think that at 35 I'm a lot more accepting towards that and I can acknowledge it. But at that moment, there was a lot going on and a lot being said, and as an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, I was still discovering the woman that I was and who I really was, and how I wanted to be. And that moment, all I knew for sure, even if I didn't know anything else, was that I wanted to represent my country to the best of my ability in what I was doing. And I was being able to do that. And I was decently good at it at that point. So I was very proud of myself and my family's efforts to put ourselves in that position. And then when something like that happened, where it's more of whether it's a media generated thing, whether it is a person generated thing, or whether it is something sort of sell news, which we see that happens a lot, it was very heartbreaking, because it became more serious than just something that came on social media or a newspaper. It became a court issue, and that was probably one of the moments. I was top 30 in the world, and I'm going to say that it was probably the lower moments of my life outside of tennis, even though it was connected to tennis, because it was something that I felt really dejected, and I felt extremely hurt and sad that but because let's be honest, who in their right mind is going to put their foot on the flag deliberately? Like, why are they going to do that? Like, so I was just like, is there no general knowledge, or is it like lack of understanding, or what is it? Like, how can you be deceived in today's day and age so easily by a picture that you see, which was taken thousands of miles away in Australia, when you don't even know, and you've put court cases and the court cases have been accepted. So it was very difficult for me, and my close knit team around me, my friends, my family. At that time, I even contemplated stopping, because I was like, what are we doing this for? What am I doing this for? What am I playing? I want to play for my country. I'm representing my country at the very tournament that this has happened. And I'm being questioned for my loyalty for something as silly as a photograph that, I mean, you can do whatever you want with photographs, so it was extremely difficult at the time. But I'm glad we're all over that now. And I think that we all know the truth. And one of the reasons to write about it in the book was, because I feel like there was always a second-hand view to it and a second-hand write-up about it, but it was never really heard from what actually I felt or what happened.
Thank you, Sania. Also, a sporting journey is never just about one person. It's never just about the athlete, especially in a sport like tennis. At the start of your book, you talk about the sacrifices your family made, your dad driving you around the country in his beaten down sedan. And though your parents, Imran and Naseema, didn't put pressure on you, you must have felt some weight of it. You were just, after all, a child when you first represented your country in a senior event. Can you talk about the weight you carried, which wasn't necessarily, you didn't write about that. You spoke about the sacrifices your parents made and your family made in the book. But what did Sania Mirza feel during this journey?
So I think that the beauty about all of it is that we enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't feel, my parents actually made sure that I never really felt like I was a burden, or there was some kind of burden and there was some kind of like, I had to do it no matter what. So even though they were putting every penny that we had, even though they were putting every ounce of energy they had, they were literally putting every emotion into everything just for me. Not once did my parents make me ever feel, even for a second, that they were doing that. And I think that was one of the reasons that I was able to go out there and just think about tennis, because they didn't really make me feel like that. And then obviously once things started rolling, the pressure that you feel from the outward or outer world is a lot more than I ever felt. I never felt any pressure from my parents where I needed to do something, or I was ever forced to do something, even though they had put every penny of their life saving into my tennis. They never told me, if I said I wanted to go for a birthday party, they would be like, okay. They wouldn't be like, no, you got to go practice. And I think that's a very important lesson that I try to, always tell younger kids and their parents especially that the reason that I got this because I loved what I did, not because I had to do what I did. And I think that I loved the journey. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the struggle, if you may say so. I enjoyed the pain that you get after gym session, which is why at 35 I'm still here trying to do it. And I think that it's very tough on kids already when they are traveling and playing and putting all that additional pressure on themselves, because we want more than anything in the world. But I think that my parents, I was very lucky. I was very lucky to never have felt that burden from them. And then the pressure obviously from outside built, but that was something I really thrived under, and I really, really wanted to do well. And I loved playing under pressure.
Yeah, I remember the first time I met you, Sania, you were 14 and it was at Junior Wimbledon. You just finished your match at Junior Wimbledon. And I think it was the second or third round and you had lost in the singles and you were eating an ice cream. And I said, did you lose? And you were like, yeah, I lost. And you were so, pleased with yourself and happily, having your ice cream. Yeah.
So parents used to ask, parents used to come and ask my parents that why didn't I ever cry after losing a match, and they would be like, does she not love it? Does she not care enough? And my parents always taught me that tennis was a very important part of my life and our life, but it was not my entire life. If I lost a match, it was not the end of the world, because as an athlete, that's the beauty of being an athlete, that we always have another chance. We have another day, as long as we want to be there and we want to fight it out. And that is the attitude that I've had all my life. So for me, yeah, sure, there are some matches that hurt more than the others, and I have shed a few tears in my career, but more often than not, I think I get over those quicker, because I know that I want to fight another day and I'll come back stronger the next time.
Okay, Sania, in early 2010, a boy from Sialkot, Pakistan, and a girl from Hyderabad, India, met, and in April that year, married for love. Their story became a cross-border conversation. I'm wondering whether Shoaib and you were prepared for this, and if so, how did you prepare for it?
I think we had an idea that it might, obviously happen, and there would be a lot of media around it. But I don't think we understood the extent that it would go to, and there is no way to be prepared for it. We were young and we were in love with each other and we wanted to get married. It was literally, in our heads, it was as simple as that. And we just at that moment couldn't understand that why can't it be as simple as that for everybody else. I mean, we weren't the first cross-border marriage that was happening or relationship that was happening. There was plenty that have happened in the past, but maybe, yeah, I don't know, maybe because I was the girl from India and he was the boy from Pakistan, who knows, like, why exactly it became such a roar. And but the funny part is that in 2010 April, there was so much said and done when we got married, and there was all kinds of things happening, and I mean, I don't even want to go into all that kind of stuff, and you would think that, my God, people really hate him. In 2010 October, I was playing the Commonwealth Games in Delhi, and he came to watch my match in a packed stadium in Delhi Center Court. And the entire stadium started chanting his name. They started saying Shoaib Malik, Shoaib Bhai. And every person that meets him from India, whether it's in Dubai, whether it's outside, everybody refers to him as Shoaib Bhai, because that's the respect we give to our damads, I guess, and we still have that in us. So the love that we get from each other's countries whenever we do visit is really, really exceptional. So it just goes to show you that love can conquer a lot of things. And it is really that simple sometimes.
Oh, beautiful. In 2012, Sania, you drew attention to the fact that you were used as a pawn to appease disgruntled sections in the run-up to the London Olympic Games. There was a distinct feeling that a medal was lost, given that you and Mahesh Bhupathi were coming off a championship win in the French Open. I'm wondering, what probably is harder for you to digest? Not playing with Mahesh in 2012 or the medal you just lost at the 2016 Rio Olympics?
The medal I just lost at Rio Olympics. I think that that loss for me, it still haunts me sometimes. I have nightmares about it, and when I say nightmares, I literally have nightmares about it. I wake up sometimes and I open my eyes and I'm in tears. It was a feeling and a dream that I had for all my life, and coming that close to it. So the times that I said that a few tears were shed, that was definitely one of them. And it was one of the most heartbreaking moments, not just of my career, but of my life, to be in that position and be that close. So hands down, that one. I think that is, I'm still getting over it. It's been over 4 years now, and I think I'm still not over it.
Sania, can you speak to us a little about that moment in 2016? I know that you said right after that bus ride from the stadium back to your hotel was probably the longest journey. You and Rohan were both silent, didn't say a word to each other.
Yeah, actually me and Rohan went back to the village, and we had a flight to Cincinnati. I mean, as tennis players, we don't have that luxury like a lot of other sports where we have a big tournament like an Olympics, and then we get a few months off or we get a few weeks off. We go straight to the next week, and mentally it's very, very challenging to put yourself in that position again and say, you know what, okay, that's done. Now I'm going to go and start from round one again and try and win the tournament. And we had US Open just around the corner. So Rohan and myself went from we went to the village. We didn't say a word to each other. I think we were both crying. I mean, I think that's the only time I've seen Rohan in tears ever. I've known him for over 20 years. And maybe that's the first time he's seen me in tears too, to be very honest. We went back and we had packed our bags because we had a flight to catch, and in a couple hours we left. That journey we both took from, it was just the both of us in the bus to the airport. It was an hour-long drive. We went to the airport. We didn't say a word to each other, and we just looked at each other, and we were just like, there was nothing to say. There was no words that we had that could make each other feel better. There was nothing. There was nothing anybody could say to us. I switched off my phone. I don't know what he did, but I know I switched on my phone because I wanted to not hear one more person tell me tough luck, or I didn't want anyone to say, oh, it happened, because the fact is that that was a dream. I've been able to, obviously be grateful that I've achieved a lot of dreams in my life, but that was a dream that I came very, very close to. And it was a very tough week, I have to say, to get over it. I had actually that week also, me and Martina had split as well. We had decided that we were going to go our different ways. So there was a lot of emotional stuff going on, in my tennis life. And it was a very difficult moment for me. Even when I think about it now, sometimes, I choke up because it just meant so much. And it was extremely, extremely painful. And I think that sometimes people don't understand because the emotion and the work that goes behind trying to achieve that moment and coming that close to it. I think people don't understand how much. I mean, when we open social media and we lose a match, people swear at us and we get all this hate and all this, but they don't understand how much it hurts us as the person who was there. So it was a tough moment, but that's life, right? That's sport for you, and that's the beauty of sport. You have to accept that, and you have to accept that we won Wimbledon from being 5-2 down in the third set on a grass court and against two big servers, and we took that. So we got to take this as well, and you got to be strong through it.
Sania, obviously, Shoaib and you are elite international athletes these days. You're traveling with your 3-year-old son, Izan, and though you have had help from your parents and your sister, Anam, you've virtually been a single mom on the road. I'm wondering how you balance the two, being a mother and your tennis.
Look, I mean, I think I get this question a lot, and it just so happens that my son travels with me, but I do wish that this question needs to be asked to men also, because I think they also need to travel with their children by themselves, just like we do. But I think that this is something that is as seamless as it may seem, because I'm saying I get this question a lot. It's very, very challenging. It's very difficult. You're adjusting to time zones with by yourself. You're adjusting to time zones of your child. You're adjusting. I mean, he's a toddler now. He doesn't really like. It's a lot easier to travel with a child who's, you know, not mobile if he's laying down and if he's much younger. But now he wants to. He talks. He tells you what he wants, and he tells you exactly what he doesn't want. And but it is challenging. I won't say that it's not, but it is fun. I mean, I'm so grateful I'm able to share these experiences with him, where he started to understand winning and losing and practice and all this. And until the World Cup, he wanted to play tennis, and now suddenly he wants to play cricket. So that keeps changing, but for that he's going to have to travel with his dad, unfortunately, if that's what he wants to do. But no, it's fun. I mean, where we take it like a journey. It's a different experience, and I know that it's not going to be too much longer. In my head, I do know that. I don't know the exact time frame, but I know it's not going to be for too much longer. So I want to enjoy sharing those moments with my son, because I hope that one day when he grows up, he'll be proud of the fact that his mother did not sacrifice or kill her dreams just because she became a mother. She still went after her dreams, and he's too young to understand that now, but hopefully he'll understand that in the future.
I'm sure he will, Sania. Last question I wanted to ask you. You've spoken over the years a lot about, sporting couples, the understanding that they share, especially vis-a-vis their careers. But with you and Shoaib, Shoaib's is a team sport, and yours is an individual discipline. I'm wondering how you're seen as in the Pakistan team. Are you seen as the Indian superstar, or are you seen as Shoaib Malik's wife, or have you been able to build meaningful friendships with the other wives and girlfriends, and just how does it work for Sania Mirza, not the tennis champion?
I mean, I think it's a bit of both. I think now I've been around also for long. We've been married almost 12 years. So I think people are also used to me a little bit. I think initially it was a little bit more, oh my gosh, is Sania Mirza, the tennis player. But I think that I have been able to have good relationships with, I actually get along with the guys a lot more. I mean, like I always do in my life, I get along with the boys a lot more. We hang out the nice thing about, like, for me as an individual sport coming to a team sport, I mean, at least when they lose a match, they have each other to lean on. I mean, they sit together, they have a cup of tea, they feel better. I mean, when we lose a match, we come back to the room by ourselves, and I'm like, oh wow, you come back to an empty room. So that's the biggest difference that I see. But no, I have been able to have a couple of very, very good friends. Azhar Mahmood's wife, who is one of them, she's from England, and she's become a very dear friend of mine over the last 12 years. So I can name a few of them, but I do get along with the guys. Actually, I think I have a lot more in common with them, playing a sport. And I always tell them, the culture is such over there. They keep calling me Bhabi, and I'm just like, just call me by my name. They're all like almost older than me, but it's just become a thing now. So we're all, we're friends, and I don't travel that often. I travel maybe a couple of times a year. So, but whenever we do, we've got some WhatsApp groups, we stay in touch and stuff. So yeah, it's good. I mean, I think now I've become a part of not just Sania Mirza, the tennis player. Let's say that.
Right. I think we have time for couple questions. So,
Sania, first of all, congrats on your book, and I really enjoyed reading it, but particularly the section about how you as a family used to drive around the country from Hyderabad to the various tournaments in the car, the four of y'all. I found that particularly touching as to how, that kept you all close as a unit, and it also connects to what you mentioned about how your parents' attitude towards you and tennis was what fostered the love for the game. My question is, Ashley, I wanted your opinion on the future of Indian tennis, particularly in the context of when you look at the other racket sports, I mean, you're one of the only 3 Indians to have made it in the top 30 singles. And, you look at badminton, you have, a lot more people there in the top seeds.
Yeah.
Squash is coming up, but you've not heard much on the tennis front other than, your generation over there. So do you have any predictions? Do you, what are your views on the future of tennis in India?
So I think that, tennis is a truly global sport. First of all, I think that we have to, address that and acknowledge that we are coming. I mean, I used to play on courts made out of cow dung. If you read the book, you'd know, even when I was doing that, for badminton, like you said, I think we already had a Prakash Padukone at that point, so you have to understand that the system in tennis is unfortunately non-existent. Everybody plays on their own terms. They play individually. Financially, it's a very draining sport if you want to become professional. If you don't want to become professional, of course, it's affordable. But if you want to be professional, you're spending 50 lakhs to 1 crore a year from your own pocket. There's not a lot of people who can do that without the help of a system or without the help of a sponsor. So finances is one thing. The second thing is, I think that just in general, the knowledge about tennis and what it takes, there are kids who pick up rackets at 4 years old, and that's not taking it to be too early. We still live in an era where we talked about, okay, he's 12 and he started playing cricket and he still has time to make it. So, it's a little different mindset. So I think, but I wish I had one answer to your question. I don't. I wish I could tell you this is the problem and let's fix it. We can't do that, because if we could do that, we would have more tennis players, and one tennis player more than every 25 years come out, right? But we don't have that. We have a bunch of problems that need to be addressed, and how they're going to be addressed is probably going to take time. But I think that we've come a long way from where we were. We still have a long way to go. But that's where it comes to coaching, where it comes to training, the facilities have obviously improved, but we still need the proper guidance what does a person need to do if you want your child to play a sport, play tennis, where are you going to take your child? What are you going to do? What are you going to be the steps? If you were born in the US, or we were born in the US, you go to the USTA and you say, okay, what the USTA says, this child is 10 years old, she's really talented, let me take them, take this child under our wing. They pay for everything. They sponsor her. They get her a coach. So I'm saying, we compare ourselves and we say Emma Raducanu comes in, wins the US Open from the qualifying. Emma Raducanu had a team of 5 people when she came to US Open as a qualifier. I mean, she was 180 in the world. Show me one person 180 in the world from India who's going to have that kind of backing. No, she had the backing from LTA. We don't. So I think that there's a bunch of issues, and unfortunately, we don't have that system. In badminton, you saw the minute we have the system in place, we get champions. Like, once Gopi has been around for a long time, not just as a player and now as a coach, you see that you get the results. I mean, we have 2 guys playing in the semifinals today, and we were only about the women until now, but now the guys are doing it too. So but I think, yes, the awareness of tennis is a lot more global. The competition is a lot more global as well. So I think that we really shouldn't compare any sport to each other. But yes, I do think these are the issues that are there.
Thank you.
Non-tennis. Growing up, what was the kind of relationship you shared with Anam? Considering you were on the road all the time, and your parents spent a lot of time on the road with you. Was there at any point of time where Anam said, "Look, you take all the attention"?
Shockingly, that's never happened. I don't know how it's not happened, but it's never really happened. And I think that's why I always say that tennis, as much as it's an individual sport, it's a very, very big team sport, and the team is not obviously playing with you on the court, but they're outside of it supporting, and that team comes in the form of your coaches, in the form of your trainers, in the form of your family and your siblings. Because if one of them says that no, I can't take it, there's a lot that can be disgruntled, so I think that it's me and Anam have an almost 8-year age gap. So I was always the second mother to her. Actually, when she was younger, before she started school, she used to travel quite a lot with us in that car journey. She was very little at that. She was only 2. But never have I felt And I'm very proud to say that. And I think that upbringing is from my parents. Have I ever felt that my sister was jealous of me, or she was jealous of the attention that I was getting? She always tried to become her own person and her own sort of achiever. And she's into fashion and she's doing extremely well. She runs 2 businesses at 27 and has 15 people working for her. So, you know, she is someone who's done something very different and achieved it. And I'm really proud of her, and I'm really proud to say that we are very, very close. Like, I cannot imagine my life without her.
Sania, just going back to that earlier question that was asked about Indian tennis, I often wonder whether you felt that, you know, your success when you went number 27 in the world in singles, 6-time Grand Slam champion, world number 1. Did you feel your success was fully capitalized, that we did not, are you surprised actually that we did not have an assembly line of Sania Mirzas after you?
I wasn't surprised, no, because I'm a realist in life, and sometimes I come across as being a pessimist, but I'm not. I'm actually a realist, and whether you can ask any person, and you've been around longer than any other journalist that I know, and closely around us as tennis players, you know, and they will all tell you that they have all come here not because of the system. They have come here individually. And whether it was a Ramesh Krishnan, whether it was a Vijay Amritraj, whether it was a Leander Mahesh, Rohan, myself, Somdev, everybody has come here despite the system. And so to expect miracles to happen is not happen. It doesn't work that way in life. Miracles don't just happen and they're like, oh, okay, well, okay, we have one Sania Mirza, so miraculously we're going to get 10 more. It doesn't work like that, you know. So unfortunately, what I did hope for was that maybe the system would recognize, maybe, you know, say that we're going to change and we're going to try and become better. But unfortunately, that didn't happen either. So hence, we are left with no more Sania Mirzas and no more Mahesh Bhupatis and no more Leander Paces.
Thank you. Thank you, Sania, for joining us for this session.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sania. And thank you, Prajwal, for moderating this session. Really appreciate it.